Hello, everyone, and welcome to this series of historical events in the Bible. In this video, we'll talk about the Abraham's journey to Canaan according to the version of Bible translated today. Now, we'll talk about this version. I will talk about the contradictions that makes this account in today's Bible very hard to believe. First of all, the journey has happened sometime in 1855 BC. And according to the Bible, the geographical course of the journey has started in the city of Ur, which the Bible say it's a city where the people of Chaldeans have resided, and then took off from Ur to Haran in today's Turkey, and then all the way to Canaan's, which is suggested to be in today's Palestine, and then to Egypt, and then back to Canaan's. Now, according to the translated version of Bible today, and according to this account, this journey in distance have taken more than 2,500 miles, which is very difficult to believe. If the final destination of Abraham was the Canaans, why would he go all the way from southern Iraq today, all the way to north to Turkey, and then go down to his destination? That's one of the things that makes this journey sort of imaginary. Now, another thing about this account of the journey is the historical error. You see, in the Bibles, when he speaks about the naming of places, he speaks about Ur as being the place of Chaldeans. Now, considering that this journey have taken place more than 1,800 years BC, the Chaldeans, according to the Annals of Assyrian Kings, the first mention of Chaldea have happened 800 BC, which puts around 1,000 years gap. So the first mention of Chaldea as a group of people to have existed was mentioned in the Annals of Assyrian Kings, 800 BC, while the Alish translation of Bible today claims that the birthplace of Abraham is Ur of the Chaldean. So how was the Chaldean mentioned 1,800 years BC when the Chaldeans only appeared in 800 BC? So that puts 1,000 years gap. Another thing is, in the Hebrew text of the Torah, the word or Kasdim is the word that's mentioned. And for some reason, it has been arbitrarily translated as Ur of Chaldees. So how did Kasdim become Chaldees? And how Chaldees is a group of people that appeared 800 years, 1,000 years after the journey of Abraham took place. Also, in the Hebrew text that talks about Abraham's journey, he talks about him reaching Misraim. Now, the translation of today's Bible claims that Misraim is Egypt, which is Misr. It's worth mentioning that the ancient Egypt at that time of Abraham's journey was not called Misr, it was called Kept. So, how did they translate the Hebrew word Misraim into Egypt, assuming that Misr is Egypt, when the name Misr only appeared around 500 BC, which puts a time gap of 1,200 years between the Abrahamic journey and the name Misr being called on Egypt. Now, the challenging of today's biblical account of Jews' history have been made by this man, Fadhel AlRubai. Fadhel AlRubai is a historian, he's a researcher, he's a scholar that have spent most part of his life studying the Bible or studying the Israeli and Jews account in the Bible, which is the 5 books of Torah. He studied them in the Hebrew language, in the original Hebrew language, which he mastered while he was studying it in Amsterdam. Now, he spent great part of his life studying the Hebrew text of the Torah, specifically any accounts that talks about Jews and Israel's history. Now, after years of studying and after years of research, he authored a series of books saying that imaginary Israel, according to the false translated version of the Bible, is a deliberate forgery where more than 4,000 words of places, of names, of people have been forged and arbitrarily translated into something else from Greek to English. Of course, the Bible or the Torah have went through 2 stages of translation. First, from the original Hebrew to Greek, and then from Greek to English. And he claims that a group of theologians in the mid 18th century have deliberately made this translation of today's Bible falsely and forgery in order to place the history of Israel and the history of Jews in the Mesopotamian area of Iraq, Jordan, Lebanon, Palestine, and Egypt. And he says that the contradictions can be found in many, many ways. So his theory of Israel not existing in the area that the Bible today suggests it does is based on different factors. The first factor is the forgery of translation from Hebrew. Second factor is there have been no archaeological findings in the area of Mesopotamian and Jordan, Syria, Iraq, Lebanon, and Egypt. There have been no archaeological findings to suggest or to say that a kingdom of Israel existed in this area. The third thing is he extensively studied the Bible in its original Hebrew language. And then he went on to look at any historical accounts mentioned in records, mentioned in archaeological findings, to match those events in the Hebrew version of Bible. And he found that according to the annals of the Assyrian kings, according to the archaeological findings in Yemen, and the scripture written in Musnad language, which is the ancient language of ancient Yemen kingdoms, he concluded that the history of the Bible, of Israel, of Jews happened in Yemen. That the geography of Yemen almost identically matches those mentions or those accounts or those events of Jews and Israel's in the Hebrew version of the Bible. He also says that there are a lot of events that have been mentioned in the annals of Assyrian kings that matches those in the Hebrew Bible. And those events happened in Yemen. Now, let's go back to the journey of Abraham. According to Professor AlRubai, he says that the journey of Abraham took place between these places. In the Hebrew version of the Bible, it talks about Ur al-Kasdim, and Ur al-Kasdim happens to exist today as the name of mountain of Ur and the mountain of Kasad. Of course, we have to keep in mind that Im in Hebrew is the plural of nouns, or it is the reference of a noun being of a male. So, Kasad Peak and the mountain of Ur was the starting point of the journey of Abraham. And then the journey continues to the place of Haran. And Haran exists in Yemen today as it is in the governorate of Ib in the middle of the country. And then he continues to Misri. And according to AlRubai, Misri is also a place that is in the middle of Yemen. And then from Misri to the Kinana. The Canaanite, according to Professor AlRubai, never existed in Palestine. They never existed in that area, and that their history was in the ancient history of Yemen. And he says that the Canaans was a name that Israelis have called a group of people as a nickname, as a demeaning nickname. And those people have lived in the ancient kingdoms of Qataban and Ausan, which also happens to be in this area. So Kinana is the area of Canaan, and Canaan never was mentioned as Palestine. It never matches the geography of Palestine in the historical events in the Hebrew language version of Bible. So when we take this account of the journey, is deemed in the governorate of Bayda was the starting point of Abraham's journey, and then he went to Haran. As you can see, it's almost 230 kilometers, which will take 2 days and 2 hours on foot. assuming that this is the exact route that was anciently taken. And then if we add another destination and say it was Muslim, that will make the journey of 325 kilometers, which on foot can be taken in 3 days. And if we finally add Kinana as the final destination, that concludes the journey of a distance of 354 kilometers to be taken on foot in 3 days, 3.5 days. So, tell me what you think. Does it make sense to you about the theory of Israel being in Yemen, about the journey of Abraham having the name of locations identical to places that existed in Yemen? And write what you think in the comments. Thank you.